Thank you so much. We finish tonight's Late Late Show with an incredible story of survival after a brush with two of the most infamous serial killers in history, Fred and Rosemary West, who were responsible for the murders of at least 12 young women and children at their house of horrors in Gloucester. But one Irish woman lived with them and managed to escape and is here to tell our story tonight. Would you please welcome Kathleen Richards. Kathleen, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the show. If you don't mind, I'd like to take you back to November 1977 when yourself and your sister Deirdre and her little baby ended up on the doorstep of Fred and Rosemary West's house. One of the first people that you were introduced to was a young girl called Shirley.
Shirley, yeah. She was introduced as his lover, Fred West's lover. But, yeah.
Things clearly weren't right. What was your interaction like with Fred West then, personally?
At first it was okay, but then as time went on, he started being a bit more, you know, hands-on, like touching me, groping me, things like that.
And he hid around the house, didn't he, to try to ambush you when you were on your own?
He seemed to just come out of nowhere. You
mentioned Shirley, another young girl who was in the house at the time. Did she ever confide in you the type of stuff that she was going through?
No, she said she was pregnant for Fred West's baby. There was one time that he groped me in the hallway and he was trying to touch me in ways, like he was really holding me at the wall. And Shirley just come on the first flight of stairs and just looked up and just said, "Fred, leave her." And Fred walked off. So I was like looking up at Shirley, and she come down the stairs and she said, "Just ignore him. He's just silly." And I just said, "Yeah." So you kind of accepted it, you know. It was different at them times as well, you know.
Shirley then disappeared. What was the explanation given at the time?
I was told by Fred West she was gone back to Germany. But when I first asked about her, where's Shirley, do you know where she is? He said, "Who, Shirley?" Making out he didn't know her. And yet I'd seen her going into their room lots of times and they were together, you know, and she was there the first night I arrived. So he was saying, "No, don't know her." And then I said, "You know, Shirley?" And he said, "Oh yeah, her, she's gone to Germany." I said, "Oh, okay." Didn't want to be at his door for too long because they had the downstairs underneath us for their living quarters. So I just walked off and just thought, she's not gone to Germany, because she would have said, you know.
You didn't have the easiest of starts yourself. As a young girl, you were abused by a factory caretaker.
And a family member.
And a family member as well.
Yeah.
How did that affect you whenever you then ended up in the West House and you saw this similar type of behaviour?
I just thought that's the way it is, and I felt ashamed anyway. I didn't feel great, didn't have any self-esteem or anything. So when that happened there in Cromwell Street, it was just like, oh, that's kind of it then. This is it, like, you know. So
the worst type of behaviour that you were experiencing, sadly, that was very much the norm for you from an early age.
Yeah. And
was there ever a point, Kathleen, where you thought about sharing anything with anybody else or telling them about the type of stuff you'd been through?
No. As I say, it's a shame. I blamed myself. Like, it was my fault, you know. Why didn't I do this? Or why, you know, why... You know, it's only now, later on, I thought, why me? But, you know, at the time, it was just more embarrassment and shame about it. So you don't tell anybody. You hide it because you blame yourself, you know.
And so Shirley disappeared. She had a baby on the way. How did Fred West's behaviour around the house change after that?
Worse towards me. Things got really intense and quite bad. We'd always see him doing DIY. He'd always be hammering or banging around. He'd be in the garden digging, but I thought he was just building a swimming pool. But then you'd see the hole filled in and think, the guy's silly, like, you know, what's wrong with a guy. He just keeps digging holes and filling them in.
You know, you mentioned when Shirley disappeared that his attention, you know, became much more intense towards you. Do you think that himself and Rosemary West were grooming you to replace Shirley at that stage?
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
There was a moment where you realised that you had to get out. Can you tell us about that?
I wasn't very well, and I was going to go into town with my sister. And with this splitting headache and that I had, I just, you know, I stayed in bed and said, I'll see how I feel later. So my sister went off, and I kept dozing off to sleep. And then I was awake with somebody in the bed. And the more thing really, what I could get was the smell. I never forget the smell. The way he was in the bed, but it was just he had this horrible smell. And like smell of dirt or something. It was always like grime, dirt, like. And anyway, I felt his hands around me and that. And when I realised, I woke up and it was him, because I thought it was kind of dreaming as well. And yeah, he was there, and he wanted me to go downstairs and watch a video with himself and Rose West. And the only thing I could think of was to say, yeah, I'll be down in a couple of minutes. I just need to go to the bathroom first. And he said, okay, really? And he swung his legs off the bed. And he went there and he said, I'll give you 5 minutes. And I just waited, heard him walking down the stairs, heard his door close underneath. And I just got out of that bed and ran. Just kept running, yeah.
Whenever you subsequently heard the news that the pair of them had been arrested, what must have been going through your mind?
Yeah, just that we got out in time, left there in time. But then I felt so guilty because I was there, and how come I didn't help, I didn't save them girls, you know, so, yeah. But I couldn't have done nothing really, could I? It took me a long time to get over that. Really, there was nothing I could have done. What could I have done? Didn't know for a start, and even if I did know, what could I do?
And you were still, you know, a young girl at that stage.
Yeah, I was 17, and they were a decent couple, so everyone thought. They were, you know, helpful. They were good in the community. So who am I? They're not going to listen to me.
When the truth eventually came out, and they were charged, and Fred West killed himself in jail, you ended up in a courtroom facing Rosemary West. I mean, that was a brave thing to do. What would...
I didn't want to be there. I didn't want anyone to know I even lived there. Well, obviously my friends and family knew, so the police had found out somehow. And I was asked to just pick out if any girls' photos, if they lived there when I lived there. And I pointed out Shirley's and said, yes, she did. So that was it. I was told to go to court and give evidence and help convict Rose West. So I was glad I was able to do that, but I wasn't telling them anything happened to me, or I just wanted to get in, do what I'd do, get out and go and forget it. And that's what I tried to do for years.
What was the feeling when that case ended and she got put in jail?
Oh, I was delighted. Yeah, I was glad, really glad. She can't hurt anyone anymore because she is as evil as him. She really is.
You know, there's so many people watching this, and it was such an infamous case, and people look at it as a court case. You know, for you, you lived through it. And I know for a long time, you still carried a lot of guilt with you. How did you start even to work through that?
Well, I ended up being a foster care as well, because I thought I could understand these, you know, if anyone's been abused or anything's happened to them, I could actually help them. So I was kind of caring for other people and not caring about me. Like I thought I could help others by, you know, help me by caring. And it worked.
What message would you have for someone watching tonight who's in a difficult position like you were in?
Talk to someone. Anybody, but just talk. Anyone close to you or a friend, anybody, to let it out, to just talk about it. Because there is no shame. I was shamed for years. There is no shame. It's not our fault.
It's been very difficult, I know, for you to sit here tonight and for you to share your story. I know it's going to help a lot of people. Kathleen, thank you very much for coming on and sharing your story. Thank you,
you.
Kathleen. Thank you. Thank you. Kathleen's book, Under Their Roof, is in bookshops now, and if anybody has been affected by what you've heard tonight, go to rte.ie/helplines.